Yeah. Yeah.
Look at me.
Bench mob, they're speaking the facts that you wanna hear. They rep a jersey, the vision is clear. Diamonds glisten like a chandelier. You know what I'm here for, like Marshawn Lynch. At clutch time, we do not flinch. Real brothers, we do not switch. Hit home runs with the right pitch. Who run the city? What to do when they hating on you? I feel like Kobe 2010. I taking an L, all I need is a win. Business is business, you know how they go. You playing the seats, now it's time to grow. Tuning now, gotta be in the know. Showtime, bitch, my about to blow.
I ain't seen from now. Miles, he was really big on it.
Bench Mob Podcast. What's up, bro?
Welcome back to another episode of the Bench Mob ENT podcast. Take care of some stuff at home first. Make sure y'all rate, view, subscribe. We're on all streaming platforms. We're on YouTube. We're just trying to grow, like y'all trying to grow. We got the big three here tonight. One of our members is out currently traveling the world with his fiance, so he couldn't make it to tonight's episode. But we got CJ Moneybags in the building. How you doing tonight?
Good, man. Real good. It's Thursday, end of a long week. Feeling blessed. Ready to go.
Long week indeed. And Miles, Mr. Hot Take Davenport, we gonna have you fill in that role today, Mr. Hot Take Davenport. How you doing?
I'm feeling good, bro.
Kyrie, man, is able to play. Kyrie is full-time. We got to start there. Kyrie is now full-time. Mayor Eric Adams came out and he got rid of the private sector mandate. What's your thoughts in regards to Kyrie being full-time? What's the net ceiling now? Like, are we seeing them championship? Is it championship or bust for Brooklyn now with Kyrie being full-time?
I mean, it definitely changes things because up until now, you're going about it thinking like, all right, he's going to be here for the next, we got 10 games left. He's going to play in maybe 2. But now he can play in every game. You can make a run at maybe coming up a level in the standings, and maybe you don't have to deal with the play-in. But even if you do, this is a dangerous team. So all these top teams that, they had good seasons, but this is not who you want to face in the first round. Like most years, you think like a 1-8 matchup is, it
should lopsided. Be a cakewalk.
Yeah, it should be a cakewalk. But this year, because of injuries and, the vaccine, Brooklyn could end up being a favorite as a 7 seed in the first round.
Especially, too, like Kyrie's body has been saved for much of the year, right? He's coming in healthy at this time. And, when they play on the road, they're great with Kyrie on the floor. But the thing about this Nets team is defense, right? We saw how many points, who was it? The Grizzlies put up on them the other night, 132.
Without John Morant.
And the crazy, without John Morant, right? But the crazy thing about that is Kyrie played lights out. 45 points, another 35 from KD. This team, they're extremely talented, and to have Kyrie healthy at this point in the season is going to be special for them. But the thing that I don't understand about why Mayor Adams is doing what he's doing now is like, this is long overdue. If you were going to do it, just had it done months ago.
He alluded to that when he had his press conference, and he talked about how he said, according to him, as soon as he became in office, he was like, this rule doesn't make sense, and it's putting our home entertainers, our home athletes at a competitive disadvantage. But
facts.
He said that the doctors and the medical team in his office said that they couldn't make any changes till now. So that was his defense.
Yeah, one of the reasons he gave in an article that I read said that basically the COVID rates in New York City weren't safe for them to make that change. But at the end of the day, it doesn't make sense that he's saying that because you're allowing players that are unvaccinated to still come and play. So I don't know. I just found the whole thing fishy. It is what it is. It's what a lot of people have been waiting for. So we're going to see how it plays out now.
So right now, they're currently at the position of the eighth seed. You got Toronto ahead of them. You got Cleveland ahead of them at the sixth seed. Do you think they could get and move up to the point? Like I've heard some analysts and some people believe, like, hey, Cleveland is 41-31. They're only 3.5 games behind Cleveland at that sixth spot where they don't even play in the play-in. Do we see Brooklyn with 9 games left? Out of those 9 games, we're looking at 6 are home games for them. Do we see them possibly getting up into that 6th seed, going on a little run to end off the year?
I mean, they can go on a little run, but it all depends on those teams ahead of them losing, moving forward. And I mean, the Cavs, they've been pretty good. They've been pretty solid all year. So I don't know about them. And Toronto, they've surprised me a little bit. I thought that, sort of rebuilding a little bit, but they've made a fun season out of this with Fred VanVleet and OG stepping up. So
Pascal
had a good season too. So it's going to be interesting. And even if they can jump them, it's going to be tough in that first play-in against Toronto if it comes down to that, because Kyrie can't play in Canada. So that affects
they
things.
need to get that 7 seed at least, because if they have to see Toronto, now they're playing 2 games, because Toronto at home with no Kyrie, you're asking a lot from KD that game, essentially.
Yeah.
Like, you're asking for a lot. We know Ben is out with a herniated disc for only literally God knows how long, because we don't know what's going on with Ben.
He won't come back playoff time.
Nah, he might be done for the year, honestly. Herniated disc.
Yeah, they might shut him down in the reserve, save him for next year.
But they got to keep winning in general, because you got the Hornets, who are 7-2 since signing my boy IT. By the way, we're going to put that out there. They're 7-2 since signing IT. So they're right on the heels of Brooklyn at the 9th seed. They don't want to fall down to that 9th seed either, because if they're at that 9th seed, that's guaranteed they got to play 2 games.
Yeah.
2 games to get into it. And
even if they lost one of those games, if they lose that first game, they're done. So they don't want to fall below 8th. Nope. But you want to be at least 7th in this scenario.
And with Cleveland, since All-Star break, they kind of been up and down. They've had some injuries. So maybe they could squeeze their way up to that 6th seed. Some of the games they got left, right? So their 3 away games is against Miami, Atlanta, New York. We know your Knicks have not gotten the message about losing, so that's not even a gimme. And especially Brooklyn, New York, y'all always play each other tough, so that's not going to be a gimme. Miami, I don't know. They got some problems over there.
Yeah, man.
There's some problems in the camp over there with UD and Coach Jimmy Spo. Butler and Coach Spo. Atlanta, they're fighting for position to try. They're the 10th seed, so they're still going to be playing hard.
Yeah.
Home games, they got Charlotte, which is fighting to get that spot above them. Detroit, they're out of it. Milwaukee, Houston, Cleveland, and Indiana. So it's not too much of a hard schedule. The thing is just like they have no room for error. And it might be, I don't know, it might be a little too late for them to try to move up. Like getting Kyrie at this point in the season, we see that, of course, him and KD is such a great mix, and you could get 80, 90 points out of just the 2 of them. But in regards to moving up, I don't know if they move up.
We saw that the other day, though. Like, how many points did they have combined? 70-something points combined. But
like you said, they don't play D.
Comes down to defense. If you're not playing defense, it doesn't really matter how many points you put up. And to be all gas, no breaks at this point in the season, when playoffs are on the line for you, it's going to be hard to do.
Yeah, it's tough with, all the new additions that they've had. It's tough to have that chemistry on defense.
Exactly.
They haven't been here all year. So you bring in, Seth, who's been out for a little bit, Drummond, and these guys haven't had a whole month to learn the system yet. And then you bring in Kyrie, who's been, we know his situation.
Here and there.
Yeah, he's been here and there. But it's going to be interesting to see, like, come playoff time, what happens. I feel like they can turn it on. Like, KD and Kyrie can turn it on. But
yeah, I think
as far as the rest of the team,
those role players.
I mean, Seth has been balling too. I mean, they're a talented enough team to turn it on. But, again, you got to be clicking on all cylinders.
Yeah, and that's
every
why
night.
they were counting on Ben Simmons to come back because
Right.
he's
That's a huge defensive piece.
Yeah.
Huge.
Yeah.
Miami, real quick, I want to just touch on that. Miami. What's y'all thoughts when y'all see this go down? You got Spo talking about, I'm not about to fight you. You got UD hopping in saying, I'll beat you behind. Just meet me outside the Jimmy. What's y'all take on what y'all saw? And they're on a little losing game streak, too. They just lost to Golden State with no Steph, no Clay, no Draymond, no Otto Porter. Are y'all still viewing Miami as a championship contender?
Not with problems like that. Yeah, like if y'all can't get on the same page during a timeout for whatever caused that riffle, right? You got UD talking about, like you said, I'm gonna beat you behind. As a vet too, like, come on, man, it's your job to be resolving the issue and making sure everyone keeps their cool and whatnot. And then you got Coach Spo charging at Jimmy on the court. Like, it wasn't like he was going to talk to him. Like, it looked like he wanted to smoke with Jimmy. Like, so I don't know what's going on. Coach Spo came out and said they were all trying to decide where they were going out to eat after.
We're just some gnarly individuals.
Yeah, like, we get excited about where we want to go out to eat. We all got different opinions type stuff. But look, hopefully it was just a one-game thing where emotion got the best of people. Like you said, they're on a 3-game losing streak, I believe. I don't know, Miles. What's your thoughts?
I mean, I feel like it's just a team of passionate guys who, Jimmy, we know his MO.
So
UD, of course, we know his MO. He's the, enforcer off the bench.
Mm-hmm.
And then, Spo. Spo's been like this for years. So I think it was just a spat that happened during the game. And
we know Jimmy's got a slick mouth, too.
Yeah, someone says the wrong thing and those are fighting words. So then it just turned into more than what it was. But I think they'll figure it out. Again, they've had guys who've been in and out, like Jimmy's been out.
Jimmy's been on a little bit of slump too.
Yeah, they need to figure that out too. But hopefully, he's always been good in the playoffs. So I think that a little practice, he'll be right.
In regards for Brooklyn, right? So we're obviously they're going to have to be matched up with one of the top 4 seeds, 1, 2, 3, or 4, depending on how high they get, right? So, which team?
The top, like 2 through 4, is tied right now. So it's kind of it's up in the air. Some of these teams might lose on purpose so they could avoid
seeing Brooklyn. Honestly, which of these 4 teams do you think is their best situation, their best chance to advance out of that first round? You got obviously Miami, Philly, the Bucks, and 4th seed right now, surprising to some, is Boston. And Boston, I say this. Boston, I don't think wins a championship, but Boston is not the matchup that Brooklyn wants to see.
Mm-mm.
And it's not, don't let them get up to like that 2nd seed. Boston plays championship level defense. So Boston, they might not have enough as a team to, get to that championship. They're not as deep as some of these other teams. They're not as talented, but I play around. They're giving me somewhat 04 Pistons vibes. Like they're playing lockup like that. But they have better scorers than what the Pistons had in Billups and Rip Hamilton and Tayshaun Prince. You got a Jaylen Brown and you have Jason Tatum, who is actually on a tear and is actually facilitating the rock. So Boston, I think, is, and you said this a couple months ago, Boston might be that dark horse team. But out of those teams, which team is the best chance for Brooklyn to actually win?
I think Philly, honestly. Like, if you think about it, during the regular season, they call a lot more fouls than come playoff time, and that benefits Philly. But when it comes down to the playoffs, you're not going to get those ticky-tack fouls that Harden hunts for, that Embiid likes to get too. So we kind of saw a little bit of that in that first game a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I think Kyrie and KD, they got a little something against Harden. Like they want that matchup, and I that's what we want. We wanted to see Ben Simmons in that matchup too, but we'll take Harden versus Kyrie and KD.
And when they played a few weeks ago, they took that Easily.
Yeah.
Without Ben Simmons.
Yeah, I agree. Philly's their best chance. Milwaukee, they're the champs. You don't want that smoke.
Mm-mm.
That's not going to happen. And they're deeper, and they play defense. Miami, even though they kind of going through their own thing right now, they're still a better team, I think, than Brooklyn is currently constructed. Kyle Lowry's been balling. You got Victor Oladipo getting back into the swing of things. They're a deeper team. And then we already just talked about Boston. So they need to hopefully match up with Philly because these other teams that we just mentioned, they have a chance to beat them if I see Ben Simmons is on the roster. Because defensively, Milwaukee going to get busy on them. Boston, you got Tatum and Brown. That's going, yeah, they need to hopefully match up with Philly to get out that first round. As scary as Brooklyn is, a biggest part of when we talk about NBA playoff basketball is matchups, like who you end up getting matched up with. Sometimes it's not a good matchup, just like we see in the West. If the Lakers match up with certain teams don't want to see the Lakers in the playoffs. And I tell you this much, my boy Russ looked like he back. Russell Westbrook looked like Russell Westbrook. Russell Westbrook looked like he back. I love what I've been seeing lately from Russ. The shooting percentages are back to normal. He's knocking down his three a little bit more consistently. He seemed like he got that fire back. Shout out to Toronto, to that fan that caused all this. Shout out to that Toronto fan that caused all this to turn around. But we're going to transition to some college basketball talk. Y'all asked for it. Y'all voted for us to talk about the Sweet 16. Obviously, we're recording on a Thursday, so it's not like we can make Sweet 16 picks. So we're going to just talk about some of the teams. Which double-digit seed do you think has the best chance of making it to the Final Four or even the championship between Iowa State, number 11 Iowa State, number 10 Miami, number 3, 15 seed St. Peter's University? Which of those double-digit teams you think has the best chance of really advancing and doing damage?
I think it's got to be St. Peter's just after everything we've seen them do already. No one expected them to be here in the place that they're in now. And in March Madness, anything can happen. But when you start advancing, right, game after game, you start feeding off of that energy. Mm-hmm. And if you're a scrappy team of individuals that are looking to prove people wrong, like, you've already proved that you belong to be in the big dance, right? So at that point, you can play, you can beat some of these top teams. All you got to do is come out there and be consistent and play your game and not get away from that. And with a coach like Holloway, who believes in you, and he's publicly came out and said he believes in you, it's just sticking to the game plan, coming out and playing hard and proving people wrong. So I think obviously they're the Cinderella team. Continue to feed off that energy. Go into the game like you got nothing to lose, and because again, you've already proved that you belong. You're supposed to be here when people already counted you out.
Miles, Shaheen Holloway has brought St. Peter's to this point. Does Seton Hall need to call this man as soon as whenever if they lose, if they even go win the championship? Does Seton Hall University need to call that man ASAP, like the day after the tourney is done, the day after they're out of the tourney? Is Shaheen Holloway the best option to be that next Seton Hall coach?
I mean, if you think about it, it's just too good to be true. It's almost like a storybook ending for him. Like, he brought them to the Sweet 16, haven't been there since. He was the last coach's assistant at Iona, came with him to Seton Hall until 2018 when he took the St. Peter's job. And the coach gave him the seal of approval that
nothing would make him happier.
Yeah, that's who he wants to have it. So, I mean, one, it's a bigger job now. Like, Seton Hall's a lot bigger of a school than it was when, I forget his name, but when he took the job like 10 years ago. So they're on TV now.
Yeah.
And Holloway's shown that he can coach.
Kevin Willard.
Yeah, Kevin Willard. I don't know why I forgot that, but yeah, he's going to Maryland. But I mean, that's good for him. That's what coaches are supposed to do: take the money and try to improve elsewhere. But this opens up an opportunity for Shaheen.
Not only that, you be getting someone that understands New Jersey and where these kids are coming from, right? Obviously, Seton Hall is a school that takes in a lot of kids from New Jersey and New York, and as Shaheen Holloway alluded to, those are the type of players that come to St. Peter's as well. So he'd be able to obviously still, kind of build that recruitment within Seton Hall, and I feel like that's huge for their school.
And perfect timing. I mean, we're watching this now live. Gonzaga's about to lose. So the biggest so far on the men's bracket, the biggest shock and the biggest disappointment that has happened so far in this year of March Madness tourney. Are we talking about Gonzaga as the biggest disappointment?
Yeah, I'd say so. I mean, they've been number one for most of the year, and now we're watching them get knocked out in the Sweet 16. So clearly, this is a failure of a year for Mark Few. I mean, when every year now they're expected to make it to at least the Final Four, and big time recruits are starting to come here now. So to have them get knocked out by Arkansas, which no knock against Arkansas, they're really good,
Yeah.
but this is just not what any of us expected for Gonzaga. I had them at least making it to the Final Four.
Facts. Are we looking at Mark Few in a different light? Because last year, number one overall seed, they didn't make it. They didn't win. They didn't win the championship. This year, they don't win the championship. Are we looking at Mark Few with some question marks now?
I don't think so. Because, I mean, if you think about it, before he got there, Gonzaga was kind of like, it wasn't like it was a big name college in basketball. Now it's one of the top 5 schools that you can go to, I think, in my opinion. But they'll be back next year. I'm sure he's got a recruiting class coming in that should help him bounce back. But
I think it was disappointing about Gonzaga getting bounced technically so early is you got such a mismatch in Chet Holmgren, and to get bounced in the Sweet 16 is just heartbreaking for them and for people that had high hopes for them. Like you said, it's the second year in a row that they didn't get to where they expected to go, or a lot of people expected them to go. But Chet Holmgren is such a dominant player, as you alluded to. He can shoot the ball, he can drive, he can block shots, and for him to be a top NBA prospect, and you expect those teams to get to the Final Four at least.
Yeah. But it's tough because they're going up against Eric Musselman, who's a really good coach.
Yeah. And obviously a big part of this game was Chet getting in foul trouble early.
Yeah.
On the women's side, which top seed do you think should be on upset watch? We got Louisville, North Carolina State, Stanford, South Carolina. Which of those top number one overall seeds should be on upset watch? I'm not going with South Carolina. I got them winning it.
Stanford probably.
Stanford. Who you rocking with, Ma? I see you vehemently disagreed.
Honestly, I'm saying NC State. Like, they're gonna play Notre Dame next, and that's not an easy opponent. So I think they got to be on upset watch.
That's right. Yeah, I like that.
But South Carolina too. Like, what were they, like 30-1 this year? And last year they tightened up a little bit in the tournament. So I don't know if they can bounce back this year, but
I wouldn't mind it because my UNC, my girls, they doing their thing. UNC men doing their thing. So I wouldn't mind if UNC beat them. I'm just hoping, for Dawn Staley.
I know, always. I'm always rooting for her, but
they're a very disciplined team because of her, though.
Stanford, Maryland.
I feel like Stanford got to be the favorite. Like, that team is deep. They're big.
We got UConn. You think UConn's getting out?
No. UConn's not that good this year.
No, I'm saying against this round. They getting out this round.
Who they playing? They're playing Indiana?
Yeah.
I don't know. They've been shaky. Like, that last game, it was way too close. Way too close. So going up against Indiana, like, the deeper you get in the tournament, these teams are good. Like, especially in the women's game. I mean, both, but you see a lot more higher seeds in the later rounds.
For sure.
So now
there's only in the women's bracket. There's only one double-digit seed, 2 double-digit seeds. You got Creighton.
It doesn't really happen.
Creighton and South Dakota.
Yeah. So I don't know. Like Paige is coming back off of like 2.5, 3 month layoff, not really getting much rhythm.
She
And
might
this
catch her
team is just
rhythm.
not that deep this year. Like I don't know.
Supporting cast.
Yeah, the
isn't as
supporting
good either.
cast is kind of
Yeah.
I don't want to say average, but Gino's had way better teams
way
than
better
this.
squads. Any of these teams so far, right? On the women's side, which team has been? We already asked for the men's. Which team has been the biggest disappointment or the biggest shock?
Shock in a good way or
Shock in a
bad
good way. Shock in a good way. Disappointment on the bad side.
Who lost in the last round?
So we had Oklahoma lost. We had LSU lost to Ohio State. We had
Ooh, no, Baylor.
Arizona.
Definitely Baylor. Baylor's got to be the one. They
James
lost by
Johnson,
they lost by 14
to South
at
Dakota
home.
State.
Because that's the difference between the men and the women's tournament. The women they play at home until the later rounds.
Later rounds, yep.
But
And that was a bad loss.
that was a bad loss.
61-47.
Mm-hmm. It wasn't close. I watched that game. They were just off all game. And I mean, their coach left, I think, a couple years ago. So it's always going to be a little different. But I mean,
coaching players, you ain't recruiting all that.
yeah.
Yeah.
But they were a
Well,
top
it shouldn't
10
be
team.
that bad.
It shouldn't be that bad.
It should not be that. 61-47.
Now when you get to the big dance too.
Yeah, nah. Like especially in women's basketball, it's typically the higher seeds we don't see a lot of the Cinderella stories, so you're not supposed to be losing. You at least need to be getting to the Elite Eight if you're talking about Baylor, at least. Not losing that soon.
And then Iowa too. Iowa was a disappointment. They lost to Creighton, I think, in the second round.
Yep.
And Caitlin Clark had a terrible game. And she's been,
carrying them all year.
Carrying them, yeah. She's been kind of like the Sabrina for them this year. So for them to lose that early to Creighton, who's good, but Iowa was looked at as maybe like a Sweet 16 team, maybe make it to the Elite Eight.
And that speaks to the importance, as like what you're talking about, of having a supporting cast, right? When your star player has a slump one night, you got to have other people around you that can help uplift the team in moments like that. Otherwise, you're going to get bounced because it's tournament time.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what you see. You see it on all levels. The deeper your team is, the better.
Yeah.
You mentioned Grizzlies. Ain't no Ja Morant, and they don't miss a beat. 15-2 right now without Ja Morant this season.
We've been saying this though. Like even early on in the season when he missed all those games, they didn't
miss a
slide
beat.
in the
They
rankings.
didn't miss a beat. But I do say this though. I know we were talking about it and we were mentioning it and we brought his name up. Ja Morant cannot be in the MVP conversation with your team going 15-2 without you.
No, yeah, that's
he
tough.
can't. He can't be like. I'd give it more to DeMar DeRozan over him on the fact of DeMar DeRozan not on that team. The Bulls is gonna struggle. They've been struggling against the top teams. We ain't mentioned them. Mm-hmm. They're 0-16 against the top teams in the Eastern and Western Conference. So we already know Chicago's just a good story this year. It's a good story. It was nice. Maybe they could have been more if my man didn't go injured Caruso and whatnot. So maybe could have been more. Alonzo's been out, which is
the story of his career, kind of.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. You could have. It's looking real like right now, like LaMelo is going to be the best ball out of all of them, just on the simple fact of he's probably going to actually play most of his games. Because Lonzo's always out, and LiAngelo's still trying to work his way to get into the league. So, hey, don't make that laugh like that. I think LiAngelo is better than most people give him credit for. I'm gonna put that out there. LiAngelo is better than most people give credit to him for. He's been balling in the G League.
He holding his contract down in the G League.
Exactly. He ain't get cut. He not out stealing any jewelry or nothing right now. So, seems like he in a better headspace. The big news that's been happening. This has been the biggest NFL offseason probably of our lives. Now I can't speak to maybe 1940s when people was moving around in the Packers and whatnot. I can't speak to that.
Pigskin helmets.
Yeah, but in our era, biggest offseason ever. One of the names that got moved again, Matt Ryan on the Colts now. What's the Colts ceiling? Like, is this even really an upgrade from Carson Wentz? Are we seeing in this loaded AFC? Does this really make a difference? Like, I think obviously I'd say it's an upgrade from Carson Wentz, but they're not going nowhere.
I mean, I think it's an upgrade, but like you said, the AFC just got so much harder with all the quarterbacks that switch sides and teams are getting more stacked now. So the way we looked at the Colts last year, where they're like a dark horse, this year is tough. They're gonna have to try to get in as a wild card because
Yeah,
it's too deep, especially in their division. So, but I think that they need to get some more weapons around Matt Ryan. Because, I mean, they got Jonathan Taylor, Michael Pittman. I think they lost Pascal.
They lost Pascal.
But
They got T.Y. Hilton.
they got
But
T.Y.
he's
Hilton,
getting
but
up
he's
there in
washed.
age. Yeah,
he's
he's getting
kind
up
of
there in
washed
age.
now. So
Yeah, I agree.
They need some more weapons for him. And, like, we saw what he can do with some weapons in Atlanta.
But again, Matt Ryan's getting up there in age too, where he hasn't had the best past 2 years. Obviously, he lost Julio Jones, and last year with that talent.
Maybe they reunite.
You think?
It's a possibility. I mean, they're already trying to recruit him over there. So
Yeah.
I think it's a good fit. He's familiar with the quarterback. And
That's the one thing that you'll get right away is obviously the chemistry aspect of it, timing of the routes.
And he could just sign a 1-year deal.
Right.
Try to, rebuild his stock a little bit.
Looking at it too, like, all right, so we look at the AFC. We got Buffalo. I'm gonna ring some names off as who we think are definitely guaranteed playoffs, right? So Buffalo, guaranteed.
Definitely.
Guaranteed.
Yeah.
Cincinnati, guaranteed. That's 2 right there.
Guaranteed. That line, guaranteed. I'm playing with me. He said
Tennessee, guaranteed. No. Okay. In that division, speaking of AFC South, who's that guaranteed team? So we got Tennessee, Colts. I'm not even gonna say the Texans as an option of anything close to the playoffs, and maybe the Jazz since they think it's the 99s and 2000s out here spending all that bread.
I mean, you could honestly see the Colts take that division.
All right. So we'll go back to that. And so we got 2 guarantees right there with Buffalo and Cincinnati. We got Kansas City guaranteed.
Yeah.
We
got Raiders guaranteed playoff spot.
Yeah.
Broncos guaranteed playoff spot.
Yeah.
That's 5 right there, right?
You saying,
Nah,
They're just a quarterback away, and they got Russell Wilson.
That's facts.
And it's two more spots to get into the playoffs. So that's 5 right there. Do we see the Chargers getting in this year?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's 6. So 1 more spot. So let's throw in a mix, right? That's 6 teams right there. For that 7th spot. This is how loaded the AFC is. For that 7th spot, we still talking about Miami.
Didn't even mention the Ravens yet.
Exactly. We're still talking about Miami, the Patriots, the Ravens, Steelers, and Browns.
I think the Ravens.
The Ravens get in. So Miami, the Pats don't get in this year.
I mean, if we're saying the whole AFC West is going to make it, it's going to make it tough for some of these other divisions.
That's
to get,
what I'm saying.
More than one team in there.
Yeah.
Because honestly, if we really look at it,
that's what we said. We said the whole AFC.
I mean,
we said the whole AFC West.
Raiders,
Chargers, and Broncos.
Yeah.
And that's very possible. That's very possible. All 4 get in. That's only leaving 3 more spots in the AFC.
If we had to pick one West team not to get in, who would it be?
Chargers.
I mean, if Deshaun was playing all year, then I would say the Browns. But I don't
we don't know if he's getting suspended.
Yeah.
We don't know if he's getting suspended.
He can get suspended up to 6 games.
Yeah, I think they need.
But if they keep Baker, then
I was about to say they got to keep Baker.
Keep Baker as the insurance.
Didn't they already sign a backup quarterback?
They signed Brissett, but
yeah, Baker's still on the contract. They ain't did nothing yet.
He's still on a contract, but they owe him $18.8 million this year for his 5th-year option. They're not.
When is the deadline for that though? That's what I'm saying. You feel me? Like
that's a good question.
When is the deadline for it? In that regard,
I mean, they might have to just eat it because
you don't know what's
nobody's trading for him right now. All these teams have quarterbacks they want.
You try this shit.
What's the market? What's the market for Baker? Where can Baker even
The
go?
quarterback market's dried up.
That's my.
Yeah.
So where's Baker
dried
going?
up.
There's
He
the
has
Pan-
two options: the Panthers to compete with Sam Darnold,
Or the
Mhm.
Seahawks and
or the
Drew Lock.
Seahawks. But the Panthers aren't really an option either because they're in the same position as Cleveland with Sam Darnold going into his 5th-year option, also due $18.8 million. So it's like they got to pay him,
Mm-hmm.
but if they move him, take Baker, you're still paying them what you were gonna pay Sam Darnold. The problem with that is you don't know what you're gonna get out of Baker, right? If you take that chance and it doesn't work out, you just paid a man $18.8 million with no future. Like, who's going to be your quarterback in the future at that point? At least if he goes to the Seahawks, he has a shot to compete with. I'm laughing because I'm thinking of the Texans, how they said they don't want him. Texans are cool with your boy Mills. So
I mean, I'd take Mills over Baker.
I think it was really damning when Cleveland came out and was like, "Yeah, we want an adult as a quarterback." I think that was really damning around the league. Like, for you to say that from the most important position, that basically the person that's been playing quarterback for your team isn't an adult.
And look, Baker,
that's not a good look for him.
But that's facts, though. Baker's not a bad quarterback, but he has some maturing to do. He got talking in the media, which isn't necessarily what he should have been doing. But again, you can't be. You're a football player. People are going to criticize how you play. It's not your job to voice your opinion and defend yourself every time you hear criticism that doesn't go your way. OBJ learned that lesson early on, and when he was being criticized this past year, kept his mouth shut, did what he had to do, got up out of that situation, went to a great team, played his tail off, won a ring. The rest is history, right? I'm not saying that Baker's whatever team he's going to go to is going to win a ring, but at least do control what you can control to put yourself in a better situation.
Yeah. Do the Colts look into this year, drafting a quarterback to just even think about the future? Because they haven't had that franchise quarterback since Andrew Luck, and before that, Peyton Manning. And you would think when they drafted Andrew Luck, y'all was going to be good for the next 15, 20 years. He retires early, and now we're with Matt Ryan, which, if this was last year, all right, I got like a 2-year window to try to win. They're not winning in the next 2 years. And it's just not like, even they're a good team, they're just not going to win. We just went through the teams in the AFC. They might not mess around and make the playoffs.
They might be thinking about it now, realistically. They might be thinking about stealing a quarterback in the late second. What are their picks? They have any picks in the second or third round?
I believe so.
I don't know about the quarterbacks that late. If you're gonna take a quarterback, it's got to be in the first round.
Yeah, to be a franchise. Yeah, but
I think there's only 3 quarterbacks worth. All right. I'm not going to disrespect Ritter, but
Pickett, Willis, and
four quarterbacks.
Calm down, bro. Had a great pro day.
So not this year, then next year.
He could be one of those guys that you draft and
let him sit.
That's
what I'm saying. They should
learn.
I think the Colts need to either this year or next year. They need to draft somebody to sit down and learn under Matt Ryan to get prepared for the future, because Matt Ryan isn't ultimately the answer. We've talked about this on the show probably the last 4 or 5 episodes. Matt Ryan right now in his career is a bridge quarterback. He's a bridge quarterback.
Bridge quarterback.
Yeah.
He's on the higher end of bridge quarterbacks. And speaking of bridge quarterbacks, name that's still out there that we haven't figured out anything. Nothing has been said as of late. Jimmy G. Seattle. He might.
That's the only thing I can think of is he going to end up staying.
Yeah, I don't see any other jobs unless Panthers trade for him, and
they asking for 2 second-round picks for him.
Yeah, that's a lot.
And
for Jimmy G.
I heard the Browns were asking for a first-round pick for Baker.
They drunk.
And I heard that
they drunk.
Trey Lance was assured that he'd be starting next year, so it's not like he's coming back to his job. He's going to be back.
Tough. That's tough. I got no choice but to stay here, and I'm not even going to get my job back.
I mean, he should have known that when they took him.
Oh, of course. I know. I'm just looking at the human aspect side of it. I'm thinking, Jimmy G, I'm going into this offseason. I'm going to get traded. I'm going to go somewhere nice. I've been rehabbing, my body getting right. I'm excited. It's offseason. I'm going to get out of here. They've been questioning me from day one being in San Fran if I was the right quarterback. And then all these trades happen, and the quarterback market now dries up.
You can thank a few people for that. You can thank Tom Brady for coming out of retirement. We all thought there was going to be an opening in Tampa Bay.
Mm-hmm.
Tom Brady's like, actually, nah, I want my job back. Boom, there goes that opening. You can thank Aaron Rodgers for re-signing with Green Bay. Trouble in paradise, no more.
Yeah.
Right? And then Russell Wilson, we kind of knew he was leaving Seattle. But he took away another prime position in that Broncos spot because people operated quick, right? And to get a player of that caliber, Jimmy G's unfortunately not a player of that caliber, right? So now with the quarterback market being dried up, he's in the same boat where he has two options, Seattle or the Panthers. And realistically, you were just talking about these college quarterbacks. Which of these college quarterbacks isn't going to sit? They're all going to come in and sit. There's no job right now that needs a starter quarterback as a rookie.
Speaking of quarterbacks, transitioning another one of the big moves that happened. We didn't talk about it last week because we had so much on the docket and we was talking about different things. We got so deep, entailed, and all the stuff that we was discussing. We got Allen Robinson signs with the Rams. What are we thinking about that receiving core? Do we see Cooper Kupp? Does his production stay the same? Who's your number one on that team?
Oh, it's Cooper Kupp. Easily. I think Allen Robinson's going to be a good number two. He's taking Robert Woods' role in that offense. And, I mean, if you think about it, it's kind of interchangeable, the roles on that team of the receivers. Like, there were times where Cooper Kupp looked like the number one, and then times where Odell looked like the number one last year. So I think that it's going to be like that this year. I mean, they still got Van Jefferson and Robert Woods is gone.
They need to sign Odell back?
They don't have to. But
I thought the Chiefs were going to come calling for Odell until they signed Valdez-Scanlon. But I agree with Miles. It's definitely going to be interchangeable because Allen Robinson's name still carries weight and people still respect him in this league. Because, look, he would have been a beast last year with Justin Fields, but with Andy Dalton starting half the season, Justin Fields starting half the season, there was no rhythm, there was no flow for him.
And I don't think he actually wanted to be there, honestly.
No,
he wanted to be going last season.
He wanted to be going last season.
And then they tagged him, right?
Yeah, they
tagged him.
He was trying to be out prior to that. So
he was been trying to be out. So
it's all going to depend on the defense and what they do, right? He's definitely talented enough to be a number one. But if they're double covering him some games, Cooper Kupp's going to be the one, right? If they're double covering Cooper, you're going to see him get more targets and things like that. Like you said, they still have Van Jefferson, who's also starting to emerge as a threat in this league where people are going to start to respect him. They probably won't double him, but at the same time, it's going to leave more opportunities for a guy like Robinson.
I think that just makes their offense even more explosive. And in regards to the NFC, they still are definitely a favorite to get out the NFC because you add Allen Robinson to that mix, who we talked about 2-3 years ago was in the conversation as one of the best wide receivers in the league with bad quarterback play. Now you coming behind Stafford, who I had to eat crow and I got to respect it. The man obviously just won a Super Bowl. So you got Stafford thrown to you now. You have also, as we just mentioned, Kupp on the other side, Van Jefferson coming in the slot. He's going to be back. We talking probably 80, 90 catches next season, 1,000+ yards, 8 to 10 touchdowns, easy for Allen Robinson next season.
Bro, them 50-50 deep balls down the field, they ain't going to Cooper Kupp. Them fade routes in the red zone, they ain't going to Cooper Kupp no more. I mean, they can. Cooper Kupp's shown that he can do that. But when you have a big body like Robinson now, who's been doing that throughout his career,
facts. They look dangerous. And the NFC, we went down the AFC list. The NFC is way easier. We talking about Green Bay, Rams. Guess we're gonna put maybe the Cardinals in that mix. Do they finally get over the hump this year? Cardinals, they get in that mix. They'll be back in the playoffs. I don't know how deep they'll go, but those three right there, I could say is guaranteed, right? And then everybody else, to me, is kind of up in the air. You got Dallas, that whole conference, NFC East, Dallas, Philly, the Giants.
Sorry ass conference.
The Commanders.
What's that, Greg? Are you not here? Sorry.
Vikings, Bears, Lions. We don't know what they're gonna get from them. We don't know what we're gonna get from Kirk Cousins. So like the NFC is way easier route to get into a deep playoff run, to getting into the Super Bowl. And the Packers, we don't know what's going on in Green Bay. A-Rod is back, but maybe they're looking to draft another wide receiver. Exactly. What are they going to draft wide receiver? Are they looking to bring?
They got picks.
They have the
to
picks.
now.
Yeah. Do they look at Odell? Do they look at a Julio Jones?
I don't think they look at either of those
Jarvis
guys. 'cause-
Landry's still out there too.
True.
Jarvis Landry's still out there.
I think
Wait to see where he goes.
they gotta get some
Maybe
draft
Jarvis.
capital.
Maybe Jarvis sings a different tune, just like Odell. Like Odell talking about he'll come back to Cleveland with Deshaun there.
Yeah.
Maybe Jarvis is like, no Baker. All right, Cleveland don't sound too bad. I think I can call this place home.
Nice.
That changes everything. Baker's not my quarterback. Oh man, I ain't really say I didn't like it here. I love to be here.
I think Jarvis could be a good fit for Green Bay.
I think so too. I mean, with A-Rod,
It's a tough sell to go from Devontae to Jarvis and think that you're going to be able to keep up with some of these teams.
But that's the great thing because they're in the NFC. That could be enough.
But again, with like you alluded to, with the picks that they have, you may not find someone that's as talented as Devontae was. So you may have to use some of those picks and get multiple guys that can fill his one role, right? So
I think this year
tough as nails too. He plays through hella injuries every single year. Like
I think this is the year that they have to spread it around because if, for example, let's say it was
crazy run game,
100 completions, right? 85 of those was to Devontae Adams. The next closest,
he had 121 last year.
121. The next closest in receptions was not a wide receiver. It was the running back. Jones had the next most receptions on that squad. Yeah. Now it's no Devontae Adams. A-Rod's going to have to spread it around because there's no Devontae Adams coming back to that team.
Which is fine. You can win like that, especially with a quarterback like A-Rod.
This is the time where you spread it around to everybody, kind of like what Tom Brady was doing. Everybody get touches, spread that thing around. I think that's what you see from Green Bay this year. We mentioned the Chiefs. They signed Valdez-Scantling, but they got rid of Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill is in Miami.
Don't have that peace sign and that sunshine.
What's y'all thoughts when y'all saw this? I mean, I think he's not going to greener pastures, going to deal with Tua or Teddy B.
You know what I thought was crazy that he said? He said the most exciting player he's interested in, or the most fascinating teammate he's like ready to be is Jalen Waddle. Mm-hmm. If that ain't disrespect towards Tua, that the guy that's gonna be giving you the rock, you're not excited to meet him.
How? Because he probably sees a little bit of him in him. Because that's who they were comparing him to last year.
Of course, yeah. Speed wise, of course he sees a little bit of himself in Jalen Waddle. I don't think it's disrespect. I mean, it is kind of disrespectful. Like, obviously, he's probably not the most exciting player to play for, but like that's gonna be the guy that's gonna be giving you the ball.
I think whether it's Tua or Teddy B, either of them, I think they both gonna get busy this year. They're doing what you should do for a young quarterback, is giving him weapons. You got Waddle now, you got Tyreek, and you still got Gesicki there, and you got my man McDaniel with his offense, that Shanahan offense. They gonna get busy. Yeah. He don't have to. The weapons that they have, he don't have to be the quarterback that everybody talks about. Oh, he can't get it down the field.
And
he can't do it that.
This year too.
You could get with these two talents right here, Waddle and Tyreek Hill, with their speed, bruh. You would get them an 8-yard slant. You give them bubble screens and let them do the rest. You don't have to rely on Tua to go get busy. Like this is going to be a very, I think, very good team. Obviously, they're not the Tua and Pat Mahomes is not obviously the same caliber of quarterback, but he don't got to be that guy.
Like you said, bubble screens though.
Tua don't got to be that guy this year.
I mean, I don't know. I feel like you don't go ahead and make a trade for Tyreek Hill if you don't think that this could seriously elevate your quarterback. Because, I mean, he's the best receiving threat in the NFL. Probably the best playmaker in the NFL right now. And if we're just going to bring him in and it's going to be, we'll try to keep it together. They got the defense. We got Tyreek Hill.
I mean, we've seen it so far. I don't think you could trust Tua to do that. I think it's really going to kind of be like the 49ers type offense where you're going to see the role of a Debo with Tyreek Hill and Waddle. You're going to see they got Raheem Mostert there too. They're going to be running the rock.
Yeah.
Tua's not. I'm very confident Tua ain't going to be having 30, 40 attempts. If they want to win, I mean, you could do that. You have the weapons, but you not trust. I don't care. You can't trust Tua to throw it 30, 40 times and think y'all gonna win.
I disagree. I don't think they bring in these weapons if they don't trust Tua, because then you just what are you doing at that point?
Well,
But
I don't know if
30,
they
40
trust,
times. Though?
I don't know if they trust him. I think that this is kind of like a last ditch effort almost to see like is
To
this
put
our
him in a position
guy?
to succeed.
If not,
We've given you everything.
yeah, we've given you
What can
everything
you
to
do?
succeed.
Yeah, that's facts.
Like if you can't succeed with Tyreek Hill and Waddle,
And
then
Gesicki.
we got 2 first-round
Gesicki.
picks next year. We could take a quarterback or we could trade for somebody.
I think
Like we saw this offseason, people are on the move. They go where the money's at and your best situation.
Now, do you think Tyreek Hill? So he gets there, he see the market, he see Devontae Adams what he got paid. He gets a new contract as the highest paid wide receiver. Should Tyreek Hill have been paid as the number 1 wide receiver?
Yeah, I think so.
Over Devontae?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, he adds an element to your team that nobody else in the NFL does. Like you have to single-handedly shade more coverage his way over the top, which that opens up underneath routes for the tight end, for the running back, for the other receivers. So there's a lot more attention paid to him. Devontae was funneled targets. Tyreek had to create it because his speed is just.
How much do you think, and I'm not saying this is the case, how much do you think Tyreek's success has been a product of playing with Mahomes?
We'll see. We'll see this year. We'll see how he does without him, both ways. So just like we'll see how Rodgers and Devontae do without each other.
Yeah, I think Hill's one of those players where, like, with this contract being played, the highest wide receiver in the league, I think he's one of those players where it's him, and you don't really question it due to the fact that like he's done enough in this league to earn that, right? If there wasn't a Devontae Adams, there'd be no question that the highest paid wide receiver should be Hill. But since there's a Devontae Adams who does just as good on a different team, maybe doesn't have the same speed, whatever the case is. But yeah, I mean, it's Hill. We've seen what he does, burns people day in, day out. Some money he's earned.
Hey, we'll see what happens. I think between the two of them, I think Pat Mahomes, he won't miss a beat over there with the Chiefs. They'll find, I don't know if Valdez-Scantling is the answer per se, but you got Valdez-Scantling over there still. You got Juju.
McCole too.
You got McCole Hartman who covers that speed aspect, and you still got Travis Kelce over there, and you have the two most, I don't care what nobody says, the two smartest, brightest offensive minds over there with Andy Reid and Eric Bieniemy. They not gonna miss a beat.
They're gonna find a way to get Juju involved heavy, right?
It's gonna be great because Juju ain't gotta be a number 1 now.
Right. But
Juju as a number 1, we've seen has not really panned out well.
Yeah.
Juju as a second or third option where he's not the focal point and he gets to be able, he's not getting double teamed. They're not really game planning for him straight into that side. Yeah. With Pat Mahomes, who is great at facilitating and making plays and running out the pocket, and next thing you know, somebody's open. Trust and believe Juju gonna get busy this year. And like you said, we got McCole Hartman over there, who obviously is not as fast as Tyreek Hill, but you cover that speed aspect there with McCole Hartman. They're gonna have a nice little receiving core. It's not the big name of Tyreek Hill anymore, but they got picks too. They might draft somebody too.
Because they might go after Landry or Odell. I was listening this morning on ESPN talking about if I was the Chiefs, the first thing they need to do right now is go visit Odell, get him on a 1-year contract, have him
that'd be spooky.
Invest in him and have him kind of rebuild his career after this injury, right? And then hopefully.
Hey, and you laughed at me when I mentioned it. They still got Josh Gordon in the roster. They mentioned him. Josh Gordon.
He's not what he used to be.
Of course not, but you get him in a full year. Get him an offseason with actually learning the system.
Red zone situation.
Seemed like he got a good head on his shoulders right now. He's staying off the weed.
I feel like he's been living off this one season from like 10 years ago
Mm-hmm.
for the last decade. Because he's been in and out of the league, but somehow he still gets chances.
That's a big body.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing I'm saying. Where I'm not by any means saying, all right, we're gonna see 1,000-yard season from him. But with this mix of wide receivers, you could put them in certain packages. You could put them in certain positions where not because so much of him, but Andy Reid, Eric Bieniemy, and Pat Mahomes, he still is going. I think is going to have a productive year. They're going to put him in positions to succeed, and it's more targets out there now. It's no Tyreek Hill. It's Travis Kelce, and then the rest of this wide receiver core. Who going to step up this year?
Travis Kelce the one?
Heck yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So
Heck yeah.
let me ask you this. If they get Jarvis Landry the one?
No.
It's by committee. It's by committee.
That's what I'm saying.
Them trading Tyreek Hill was them committing to, doing more with less.
Exactly. So I think we'll see that this year. I think they'll use all their targets, and I think Josh Gordon is going to be a vital part. And again, I'm not saying 1,000-yard season. I think that's way behind him. Like you said, 10 years ago, that's way behind him. But that's still, 6'3", 6'4", big frame right there. Shoot, play action, get him out in the, 50-50 balls. Especially we know Mahomes loves those 50-50 balls. Throw that thing up. I'm taking Josh Gordon still right now to get that 50-50 ball on a lot of chances. So
we don't know. He hasn't played a full year. Let's see if he can play a full year. Who knows how many? Like you said, he's still talented. Who knows how many yards he can come up with? He probably get 700, 800 receiving yards
with Pat Mahomes and that Andy Reid and Eric Bieniemy. Hey, I think, like you said, it's by committee, and I think it's really going to be like we had that quarterback competition. All right, which one of y'all quarterbacks is going to step up? Which one of y'all wide receivers is going to step up during this offseason? I know they signed Juju, but I know they didn't sign Juju thinking that he was going to be a one. So we already know you're going to be a two, or you're going to be a slot receiver. We not even think about you. Anybody else? McCole, you want to step up? Josh Gordon, what you doing this offseason? You want to step up? And we don't know if they get Odell, they get Landry, and even if they get Odell out for a little bit. So who going to step up?
Back till November.
He's not going to be back till.
That's an early timeline.
Right.
Facts. Well, it's been a lot that's been happening, but we stayed ready. Bench mob, if you stay ready, you don't got to get ready. We out. Peace.